Okay, so as promised, we're now looking into e-invoicing, invoicing. METRO.digital is also a customer of Lobsters. They were working with many invoices annually. Over 30 million invoices needed to be processed across 21 different countries. This meant navigating complicated VAT requirements, local compliance issues. It was a mess. And the way the team at METRO.digital decided to broach it was they created a centralised, standardised e-invoicing framework that allowed them to benefit from global standardisation, but also gave them the flexibility to tailor to these local compliance challenges as well. And it was powered by a flexible middleware with hybrid integrations and multi-format support, which allowed them to connect internal systems with external suppliers and tax authorities to create one powerful system. So it's now my pleasure to introduce you to someone who was essential in creating this entire powerhouse solution. Tobias Hendley is a domain expert for supplier invoice and controlling solutions at METRO.digital. He brings years of experience in digital transformation and invoice invoice automation, especially in the retail and wholesale space. Let's give him a warm welcome. Tobias Hendley.
Thanks. We are in the beginning of the year 2023. My colleagues and I are searching for a data integration platform. On 3rd of March 2023, we had our first contact with Alexander Strupf. And what should I say? As already mentioned, we decided to purchase Lobster data. End of the story. Luckily not, because I need to tell you more about it. So let's go back to the year 2021. I'm sitting at home and it's the second year of COVID. And I had the chance to join an e-invoice summit, so-called E-Rechnungsgipfel, which took place in the beautiful city of Germany, Neuss. It was a complete remote session, but nevertheless, a lot of great presentations. And there I had the chance to join a presentation of Svante Schubert. If Svante Schubert is not known to you, so he is working on standardization of e-invoice formats, so for example, Zugpferd. And he mentioned that everyone must be able at any time to throw digital data over the fence, and you need to understand the data they receive. And what should I say? This statement haunted me all the time. I wasn't able to forget it. My name is Tobias Hendley. I'm so-called a domain expert at METRO.digital, the IT company of Metro. So for those who doesn't know Metro, I also have some numbers here. So we are currently operating in 21 countries, having more than 600 stores in Europe and Asia, and round about 94,000 employees. And of course, we are processing also invoices. So we have round about 30 million invoices per year. But these are not only inbound invoices. So we are talking here also about outbound. So when you are going to a store and buy something, which is always good, then you will get an invoice from us. And this is also covered in this number of 30 million invoices. Additionally, we are having an EDI rate of 86%. And this EDI rate has been increased in the last 5 years by 21%. And hey, we are still processing paper invoices. And there we're having a capturing quality rate of 81%. What does it mean? So when we are getting a paper invoice, we are trying to extract the data. And if the extracting is good, then we have 100%. So that means 81% of the data we are extracting is correct. In Germany, it's of course more. In other countries, in Eastern Europe, it's less. And now to the e-invoice topic, we are already live in 3 e-invoice countries Of course, one number is missing here. We're already live in 4 countries because Germany is also now live. But nevertheless, in the past, so we had only 3 e-invoice countries in place. These were Serbia, Turkey, and now I forgot the last one, Italy, of course. But please do not think that these solutions are standardized. So we are working here with different providers, with different processes, and of course, we had different challenges. And yeah, as you know maybe, so in the European Union, you have a legal framework for processing e-invoices, but still, you have a lot of variance when you go inside the country, especially in regard to VAT. Then you need to know that, or I mentioned it already, we have a high EDI quota. And do you think that the quality of EDI is equal to the quality of e-invoice? I don't think so. And that was the reason why we decided that we need a corporate e-invoice solution for all countries to have a standardized process. But how can we do that? That's now the question. So we need to join forces of business and IT. So like, for example, if you have seen Game of Thrones, they are joining the forces of different houses to defeating the Night King. Of course, we are not defeating the Night King. We are trying to defeat the challenges of e-invoices. So we join the forces of business, IT, and also with our global shared service center and the countries to create a corporate e-invoice project. So we had 2 project leads, one from business, one from IT, and below we defined different substreams. So the first substream is the accounts payable goods substream and later income, where I'm responsible for. And the second one is the accounts payable cost and the accounts receivable. And the last one is the customer document stream. And now we need to also have a possibility to get in contact with the tax authorities. But we thought that this is not our task to do that because we have no experience with it. So we searched for a single point of contact, a provider, which can cover these kind of topics and is also available in all these countries where METRO is operating. And with this, we had also the advantage that we can partly separate legal requirements and our business needs. Of course, the provider needs to take care about all the stuff which is connected to the tax authorities, and we can focus now also on the business needs. And also, of course, we need to focus on legal requirements still because we can count it for that. And now, to get a starting point, we need countries where we can create these corporate solutions. And in 2023, there were 2 countries in place which thought about implementation of e-invoices. And these were France and Poland. And they are still thinking about it. So they are still not live. But nevertheless, these are our MVP countries to build up a corporate e-invoice solution. So, foundation was made. Now we need to get down to business. And how we can tackle this? Of course, we had the advantage that we have already corporate solutions in place, like the invoice control system, like the SAP system, and so on. But nevertheless, now we need to shape the processes for processing e-invoices. And if you're starting such a project and you start discussion about processes, you will always end up in discussion about edge use cases. Because there are a lot of stakeholders in, and you discuss a lot about edge use cases. And that was the reason why we decided to use the happy path approach. So it means we talked firstly only about the happy world of processing invoices. So where all the invoice data is correct, all the master data is fine, we have no issues in place and can process these invoices straightforward. And based on this, we could really simply create 2 processes for Poland and France. And later on, we added things like rejections, when missing data is available, and so on. What are the processes there? And finally, we put both processes of Poland and France together and found out that we have one process to get them all. So we are always starting on the government portal side. Of course, in Germany, we have no government in place so far with a portal, so there's the supplier. But nevertheless, it's always starting at this point. And then all the invoices are sent to our corporate provider, and the provider passing the data to our middleware. And the middleware is checking to which invoice control this invoices needs to be sent to, so it's goods, cost, or whatever, and then the payment took place. On the other hand, we have the source system which are creating outbound invoices. So these outbound invoices will also send to the middleware and then to the provider, to the government, and to the supplier. One process to get them all. So now I want to stick to this middleware. So we have in Metro 2 middlewares in place. One is for customer documents, where I'm not responsible for, and there's also not Lobster data in, so I cannot tell you something about it. But for all other topics, we have Lobster data in place now as a middleware. And I want to explain now why we decided to use Lobster data and what were the requirements to decide that we need to use it. On 2024, so in the year 2024, I joined a workshop with our colleagues of Metro Cash and Carry France. And the project lead from Countryside mentioned to me, this middleware is the heart of our solution. And why is this the case? Do you remember the statement which I shared to you at the beginning? So everyone must be able to throw digital data over our fence, and we need to take care about it. And here, this middleware comes into the picture. So we searched for this middleware because of 3 requirements I want to tell you now. So the first one, my background is paper invoice processing. And you can only achieve in high automation rate with paper processing when you create business rules. So business rules like the invoice date is required, the invoice number is required, I need to find the supplier ID, and so on. So that means we need a solution where we can easily build up such business rules to check the invoice data. The second point is that we have a lot of different XML formats. So we have in Poland this CEF XML format. In Italy, it's Fattura PA. In Serbia, it's also an UBL standard of Europe. Then we have in Germany Zugpferd, X-Rechnung. In France, it is also Factor X, which is equal to Zugpferd, of course, and EDI, and so on. So a lot of different formats. We need to take care about it. And we need to map these different formats to our target systems. And these target systems are using file formats like GS1 or IDOC. So, and with Lobster, we have easily the possibility to map such data, because you can map data by drag and drop only. The third point is that e-invoices are still like paper invoices from my perspective, because you do not know what kind of data will come to your company. I will give you an example. So we are already live in Germany, as I mentioned, and in Germany the X-Rechnungsformat or the Zugpferd format exists, and there is an XML tag available where you need to put in the invoice recipient. So for Metro Germany, it's METRO.digital GmbH. And now we're receiving invoices where the supplier is putting METRO.digital GmbH GAN 12345, supplier ID 12345. So that's not the name. That's more information in this tag available than we need, as we need. And these are topics we need to take care about it. And therefore, we still also need a manual verification where we can manually verify e-invoices. And all these requirements has been found in Lobster, of course. So with Lobster, you can also build up easily APIs, so like a REST API. And I will also do now a journey to reporting and monitoring. As you maybe know, in some countries in Europe, it is needed to have a status exchange in place. So that means you need to inform the government the invoice has been approved, the invoice is rejected, or we have received the invoice or it's paid. And we thought, should every product inside of Metro sending this status to the government portal by using, of course, the provider? Or should we maybe centralize this topic? So that means centralizing all the products inside of Metro are sending their status information to our middleware, in that case Lobster. And Lobster is taking care about it if it's needed to upload the data to the government, so the status data to the government, or keep it in our database. And of course, we keep all the data in our database. And based on this, we can easily set up an end-to-end monitoring. So that means we know at every time where the invoice is. So if it's in our middleware, is it in the invoice control system, is it already paid, and so on. So we have always the status available in our systems. We at Metro are still at the beginning of our journey. So we are already live in Germany, as mentioned. This year, it is planned to have a soft launch with Poland and France. And we hope we had a great ground base to tackle the topic of e-invoices. And I hope also that you also now never forget the statement which I mentioned at the beginning. So every time you need to be able to understand the data which has been thrown over the digital fence. Thank you.